And we're live. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 3 of the Dungeon Nerds podcast. I apologise for the fact that this is 2 weeks late. No excuse other than the fact that, honest to God, last Sunday both myself and Midnight forgot. It wasn't until 11 and I was like, hang on a second, we're supposed to do the podcast today. And you was already in bed, so it was just like, okay, I'll leave it then. But anyway, today's subject, we are going to be talking about a lot of the Games Workshop releases that were announced in the very recent Warhammer Fest. Not just covering the tabletop side of things, but also we're going to talk about some video games that have caught our eye, and our opinions on the things that really caught our attention that got announced in it. So I'll start off with the first thing that caught my attention anyway with Warhammer Fest, and that was the announcement of Plastic Tanith First and Only, which are one of my favourite things from 40k, and I'm so happy that they're being done in plastic, and they're including characters that they didn't even do in the old run when they were in the older metal line, that I'm pretty sure are still bumming around somewhere at yours, Midnight. I'm pretty sure the old metal ones are still at yours.
I have lots of different models.
Yeah, I know. It's a mess. I really do need to do a sort out of my models that are at yours that I haven't painted. That was the first thing that caught my attention, and it was very, very exciting to see. And they did it along with the announcement of a new book, which I'm not going to read because I don't like how the Tanith series has gone. It's a bit of a mess. But I love the characters themselves, so I'd plan on getting the models at some point as a kill team kind of thing to do, because we've spoken about doing kill team a couple of times now, haven't we? And I feel that's yeah. It's a case of everyone deciding what they're actually going to do for the bloody kill team, and I think a lot of the group are just going to go with their existing armies, whereas me and you are like, how far can we push this? Yeah. That was the first thing that really caught my attention, and I was really excited because it's for too long now it's just been constant Space Marine and Sisters releases. And I'm a Space Marine player, and I love the fact that Sisters of Battle are finally getting the love that they deserve. But Jesus Christ, Midnight, the last year that's all it's been.
I know. Even I can't keep up with it.
No, I think it's got to the point. Well, obviously, another thing that was released, which I think is something that caught your attention, definitely, because me and Demaster was in hysterics over it. A new Sisters Codex. A year after they just got their last one.
Yep.
Oh
yeah.
It's so funny. You're Midnight. You're constantly cursed to be always an edition behind on codexes. I swear to God.
Yeah, but then you say that orcs are getting a new toughness.
Oh yeah, let's not fucking go there. I'll cover that in a second because that's a half-hour rant right there. From what I understand though with the new Sisters Codex, all it is
I think they're just adding in
they're adding in all of the all of the shit that they've released over the last year that wasn't already in the book. They're adding that in, which, I mean, do you remember the days when?
I would like it to be an add-on, if that makes sense.
Well, the thing was,
Add-on.
do you remember when the Dark Elder Codex came out at the tail end of 5th edition, and there was a couple of units in there that weren't released until 6th or 7th. The Void Raven Bomber, I think it's called. That wasn't released until an edition or 2 editions later. And Dark Elder actually got a new codex with the release of that, but it was in the 5th edition codex. But there was no model for it. So, because Games Workshop used to do that, didn't they? They used to release the codexes with the 5th edition Tyranid one was a. Well, the 5th edition Tyranid Codex had a couple of models, had a couple of units in there that didn't have models at the time. and again didn't get models until like the last Tyranid release, which I'm pretty sure, if I'm remembering this correctly, was like 2013, 14. So it's one of those, like, Games Workshop used to do that. So why didn't they just... I mean, surely they must have had those models planned at least a year before they released the damn things. They can't be churning them out that bloody quickly. Like, from design to moulds to production. I mean...
Well, molds themselves will take a while to
Yeah, so they must have had them planned.
out.
It just... Something like this screams money. Do you know what I mean? It screams money. And the biggest issue is, I mean, it's cool that you could, I mean, technically you could still use the old codex, because as far as I'm aware, nothing else has changed. But of course we don't, they've got the new system, haven't they? The challenge points, or whatever they're fucking called system. PowerPoints, that's it, innit?
Yeah, the PowerPoint.
And of course, when you get a box of your models, it comes with a stat sheet, doesn't it? In there as well for the unit in different languages. But
Yeah, it's a quick reference sheet.
yeah, it's got all the stats and everything, how it works, but it doesn't have the actual points cost. It's got the PowerPoints cost. Like,
Yeah,
I
bought a selection of models a while back, and they still had the old instructions.
okay,
But the new
thank you,
update is shit like Fox.
thank you very, very much, Scotland Sweetie. Let me just turn her up. Cheers for that. We've actually got a viewer for once.
Yay!
So now this is the issue. This is the issue with the Sisters Codex. It screams money making, not, oh, look at all these new releases. Here's some stuff for you. Here's this for you. Here's that for you. Everything like that. It just, I mean, it's even funnier because you haven't actually opened your well, you've opened it, but you haven't started your special edition Sisters box yet, have you?
No, I haven't. I was currently busy building
Magnus.
making the rest of my Chaos army.
Yeah.
And that kind of took a back burner, and then and I've opened it. I haven't even cracked open the codex.
No, me neither.
Like, that's how new it is.
And as we told that that's coming out, I mean this is the same issue I've had with Space Marines. Like, I haven't bought a Space Marine Codex in ages, and I do plan on playing at some point. Obviously with us coming out of lockdown, that means that we can see each other more, and I do want to get back into playing. But I'm a Blood Angels player, so that means that I don't just have to buy one of the damn things, I've got to buy two. I've got to get the Space Marines Codex, which the boy is going to share with me. He can share my
I
one.
suppose that is the upside of
Yeah,
it.
that you've only got to buy.
Boy got
Yeah, I bought him the Dark Angels Codex for his birthday. Yeah. This is Midnight Wolf. Scotland Sweetie.
Hello.
Yeah, that's because she's very distorted, because unfortunately she's using her phone because her laptop's a piece of trash. Downside of her laptop.
Ordering a new one.
Yes.
It's just
Yes.
required.
Yeah. The master's not giving you much of an option there. He's getting you one, isn't he?
Yeah. I'm not even allowed to pick the damn thing.
Well, to be fair, I think that's a good judgment call.
I don't know what he's talking about. I was talking internet to him the other day, and it went straight over his head.
Yes, it probably did, knowing him. Another thing that caught my attention that I wasn't even aware that they were doing. Now, for those of you who don't know much about Games Workshop, one of the, I suppose, partner companies is called Black Library. Black Library produces, or is their publishing house. They publish all of the novels and everything, focus around not just Warhammer 40,000, but also Warhammer Age of Sigmar. Yeah, and that's it. So like their core worlds. And they're doing a crime series for 40k, which I'm really excited about. Because the only real crime series I ever read, or something that you could kind of count as, but technically it isn't, was the Ravener trilogy. And I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that. But it seems it's set within a hive city. It's just the idea of a crime thriller set in the grim dark universe just kind of satisfies a need that I never knew I had before. I remember telling you, and you was very, very interested in that kind of thing.
Yeah, I might actually once they come in as an audio, I might pick them up.
Well, this isn't a plug or an advertisement, but pretty much all Black Library books are available for on Audible, and if you get a free trial, you are fully able to pick up your first one for free. Not a plug, but you can get a free trial with Audible, where you do a monthly fee and you get a credit, and you can use that credit to buy whatever audiobook you want. Because that's why I've got so many on my Audible. I've got like 30 books on there, and I've listened to all of them. Some of them more than others, but yeah, it's a really good way of doing it, and you can use it on your smartphone and everything. So I highly recommend it if you prefer listening to it than reading it.
Yeah, it's more sort of. I've got quite a lot this side. So
Well, I've got
reading a book is really.
Well, I've got the Night Lords omnibus. I've got the Night Lords omnibus on Audible, and I also have it. I also have the book. So I listened to the audiobook, but I've still read the book multiple times since I got the audiobook because it's my favourite one. Because you know that's brand appreciation for you right there. What else got announced at Warhammer Fest? Ah, yes. The Space Marine release. Well, not just Space Marine. I'll be fair, it weren't just Space Marine. The Space Marine and Eldar release for Aeronautica Imperialis. Now, this is a side game to 40k that we've spoken about before, and we're very fond of it. I know it's not for everyone, and I completely get it, but I think it's one of the most well-designed games I've played in a long time, and I actually think it's really fucking balanced compared to the mess that is 40k. Sometimes Aeronautica, it feels like you are on an even playing field, unless you're playing Demaster, in which case he's a cheap bastard.
Yes.
But that's because he just takes as many Dakar jets as he can and just goes, you can't catch me. Yeah, well, it runs on a classic point system that works. You know, it doesn't try to be fancy or any bullshit. It's a classic system and it works incredibly well. And I'm really excited for Space Marines coming out. And despite the fact that I already have a rather impressive Imperial Navy and Imperial Guards force for Aeronautica Imperialis, I do want to get some Space Marine ones for my Blood Angels. Yeah, you also plan on getting some Space Marine ones because it's entirely reasonable, and because I point this out, why wouldn't you have Thunderhawks? They did have them.
Yeah.
And Storm Eagles.
I might hold off because they might release a whole Chaos section, which means I can then get my dragons.
Yeah, that's all that you really want. You just want the fucking Helldrakes.
That's all I care about is dragons.
Just make cookies and cream. You could actually do that. Make miniature cookies and cream, and just go. This one's cookies. This one's cream. Yeah, you got to do that now. That would be brilliant.
I will do. I plan solely on doing it. Oh, and strawberry. Oh, I have strawberry.
You don't have strawberry yet.
I will.
I hate the fact that you've called your Helldrake that. I hate the fact that you called your Helldrake that.
Well, it's kind of the same as calling a Rottweiler Fluffy, isn't it?
Yeah, true.
Menacing dog, cute name.
But yeah, that was announced to I won't lie, not a lot of fanfare. There's not a huge amount of love, unfortunately, for Aeronautica Imperialis. It was a lot of people view it as a fad and then just forget about it. Kind of like Blood Bowl and Necromunda in a way. No offense to either of them, I love Blood Bowl. I adore Blood Bowl. I think it is one of the best games, one of the best tabletop games on the market. I think it's better than 40k. I think it's better than Bolt Action. There's only a couple of games that I think come close to its scope of just having a laugh. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
the boy's favourite bit on the PC version is this troll eating the head of a goblin
Yeah!
before it throws it.
yeah, it tries to throw the goblin. The goblin's been eaten. Congratulations, the master. You've just killed one of your players. It's all right. Kills the next one as well. It's such a fun. It's just a brilliant game, and hopefully more teams are coming out. I'm pretty sure you're waiting for the Amazons, are you not? Because you have to be difficult.
Yes, I do have to be difficult.
Yes.
I quite like the look of the vampires. I played those online as well.
Yes. The vampires were a good team. I mean, that's the other thing. It's funny how the side games tend to be more loyal to the lore than the actual games themselves. Like, if you think about it, Chaos Dwarves, for example, they're a perfect example. Didn't feature very prominently in the later stages of Warhammer Fantasy. In fact, I'm pretty sure the only way you could take Chaos Dwarves from Games Workshop was they were the crew to the Hell Cannons. And that was it.
Yeah, they were.
You could get them off of Forge World, but no one bought Warhammer Fantasy from Forge World. It was it was such a tiny section. The only stuff people bought that was like what you could consider Warhammer Fantasy was a giant greater demons they used to do, which could also be used for 40k. Like that, the giant Keeper of Secrets they had. That was an amazing model. Not one that you want to have out if you've got kids though. You end up putting their eye out. What else has been announced? There's some more Space Marine units, because of course. Fucking course they were. Be'lakor. That's it, that's what I wanted to talk about. Be'lakor. The Dark Prince of Chaos, the first Demon Prince, the first champion of Chaos Undivided. And it's actually a really good looking model. It looks amazing. I also love the fact that
The tall model.
yeah, it's
Amazing.
and it's got two alternate bases. One for Age of Sigmar, which has a Sigmarite warrior on it, and one for 40k, which has a Primaris Marine on it, or a Primaris Lieutenant. And Games Workshop joked our newest Primaris Lieutenant model, because that's been a joke for ages that they keep on bringing out lieutenants. I actually think it's one of the best looking models they brought out in a long time. But in total honesty, I could piss off a lot of 40k viewers with this, but there hasn't been any really good looking, and I don't mean baseline infantry, the sisters look amazing. I mean proper good looking models for 40k in quite a while now.
Yeah.
Other than
They've gone more intricate with the detail. But
yeah, but even then, I like Primaris, and I like the fact that they moved the timeline along, but they all look too basic. I mean,
yeah.
they're so easy and so much joy to paint because they're not hard to paint, but they're very, very basic. And unless you put in a huge amount of effort or you've got a large bits box, they can always end up looking a bit too samey. Which I suppose is a metaphor to what they are, in a way. It's with Rabute Ginnaman being the Lord Commander. But it's... I think the last 40k model that I really looked at and thought, that looks sick was Abaddon. Abaddon was the last model that I like showpiece model for 40k specifically that I looked at and thought that looks amazing. I would quite happily have that on a coffee table or something just as a showpiece. Because his new model, I mean the old one was iconic, but the new one blows it out the water. That looks like someone that will burst through the side of your fucking house and then just with just a flick of the finger just eviscerate you. Like he looks amazing.
Now I have the image of the Kool-Aid man.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh shit, it's happening. Someone please make a meme of that. Of just the Kool-Aid man from Family Guy, and then it's just Abaddon. Like,
Yeah.
like please just.
There must be something there somewhere.
Yeah, someone that needs to be done. That needs to be made. But onto that subject, I think all the best looking models have been Age of Sigmar.
They have had a lot of new releases over the last couple of weeks.
There are, I mean, let me be clearer. I am a Warhammer Fantasy Old World fan. I love the lore. I understood why they killed it with End Times. I thought it was too soon. Way too fucking soon. It was literally a month after the last book, and then he went, oh yeah, that whole thing that everyone's really excited to play, yeah, it's dead now. We're not playing that anymore, it's this. And everyone was just like, wait, what? I'm honestly, I was surprised at how the backlash was when Age of Sigmar, like Games Workshop was surprised at the backlash when Age of Sigmar first came out. And yes, it may be one of their top sellers, and yes, it may be doing well for them. And yes, they don't care about the old fans anymore, but I don't care what any Games Workshop employee says. Why the fuck were Space Marines needed to be put in my fantasy game?
That was the whole point of 40k, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, the way I look at it a different way, and this is an argument that I maintain. And we're going off topic from the releases here, but bear with me, because this is important. New does not mean better. And in my opinion, Games Workshop had a really good setup with their games back in the older days. You had Warhammer 40k, which was a skirmish game. You know, very more focused on the individual, even to like the squad level. Alright? It was the way it worked, it was much more smaller. You had Warhammer Fantasy, which was the epic open pitched battles where you're moving trays of field of infantry and you're attacking, and I mean, Total War Warhammer got the feel of playing Warhammer Fantasy down very well, because that's what it was like. So you had the pitched battle tabletop game, and you had the skirmish tabletop game, and then you had Lord of the Rings, which was just kind of in the red-headed stepchild in the back that had both mechanics. You had the open pitched with the War of the Ring game that they released, and you had the more skirmish side of it that they did that focused more on the individual heroes. So it was in my opinion, it was a really, really good mix. But then they change Warhammer Fantasy to Age of Sigmar, and instead of having two pretty much entirely different ways to play, I mean, yes, they're different settings, but two different ways to play, so that they don't feel too samey. They just make, and I know a lot of Age of Sigmar fans aren't going to like this, but I maintain it, they just made 40k with a fantasy skin. I'm not talking about the models. The models are gorgeous, but
maybe the lore could have changed with Six Knights, because
I don't.
quite a few things that they left out in the Age of Sigmar, and I understand that empires fall,
Yeah.
people become refugees, things like this.
It.
So why couldn't they just rebrand themselves?
Why? Well, I read a short story a few years back now, talking, and it was focused on Sigmar Warrior. I didn't finish it because it made me so angry, but he's thinking back to his creation into a Sigmarite warrior, and it's just, I swear to God that they just copy and pasted some, like a Space Marine talking about his creation. I mean, it's not exact, but it's so fucking similar. It's just like, oh wow, they just made in Space Marines, and the fact that I remember when they were announced, and because I was in Games Workshop that time, and I'm pretty sure you was with me. And Neil showed us, them, and I just went, so they're Space Marines, and he was just like, they're not Space Marines, and I'm like, look at them, they're Space Marines, shoulder pads. I mean, the only difference instead of an eagle, it's a hammer and lighter. Look at them, I can make them into Space Marines really easy. Artificer armor, there you go. It's a special kind of armor for Space Marines to wear. They're not Space Marines, they're fucking Space Marines. They've even when they put in like fucking like heavy bolters and shit like that, and everyone was just like, "Come on!" And like, it's not Space Marines, guys. It's entirely different. No, they're fucking Space Marines. I don't care what you say. Why have you put Space Marines in my fantasy game? Now, on the flip side of that, kind of hypocritical, bearing in mind that I played a Space Marine in our D&D game. However, I made him fit to a fantasy setting. By not making him be a super warrior or anything like that, he was just empowered because he was a paladin, right? I didn't have like this whole change thing. You see, I don't feel like they needed to make it this whole thing, and I haven't liked the look of any of the Sigmarite warrior models, any of them. On the other hand, I have loved some of the models that have come out for him. The new Chaos line looks fantastic. The updated version of the High Elves, which is it the Lumineth Kingdoms or something? I can't.
So, yeah.
Yeah, they all look. I like the look of all of them. The Indeneth Deepkin. Oh wow. Dark Elves that are riding fucking flying turtles. Sign me up. They look amazing.
Yeah.
So there has been a whole wide range of things from Age of Sigmar that look amazing. But my first thought has always been, whenever I've seen a model or a monster come out from Age of Sigmar, it hasn't been, oh, I want to play Age of Sigmar. It's always been, that looks like something cool I could throw at the party in D&D. And that's the issue. Age of Sigmar don't feel like Warhammer anymore. It feels like D&D.
Yeah.
You know, come on, you've got.
Which are Age of Sigmar
They've
for
even.
our D&D campaign.
You've even got the multiple planes. That's kind of a thing in like you've got the different realms, haven't you? And that's just like the planes in D&D. It's just too like it's too like D&D for my taste. And although I still want to give the game a go because I know it's drastically different from when I first played it when it first came out. Like me, you, and the Master have start collecting boxes to paint up, and we're gonna give. Well, me and you at least were willing to give it a go because vampire counts. That's onto the tangent. Vampire counts, although they're not called vampire counts anymore, have got a.
They've managed to split vampire counts into 3 separate armies.
Yeah, but in Total Honesty it makes sense, and it's actually still.
It makes sense.
It's
I don't know where I stand anymore.
Yeah, but it's still keeping to the bloodlines that was a thing in the older army books for Warhammer Fantasy, because from what I've seen and from what I was able to gauge from our local Games Workshop representative, it's the Strigoi, which old terms here, they're not the new terms. It's the Strigoi, the Lamian, and the Strahd, although that's not their actual name, is it? They have another name, don't they? Not Strahd. Karstein. Oh
Yes.
God. Play too much D&D.
D&D
Yeah. Yeah, the Von Karstein, the Lamian, and the Strigoi, which are 3 of the most popular ones anyway. All of the others never really got featured as time went on.
No, because they sort of merged into everything.
Yeah.
As
So you got the
like an umbrella.
You got the Feral, the Frenchman, and the Transylvanian. That's how they nail it down. Which I'm actually completely fine with. I don't mind them ignoring all of the old bloodlines that existed and focusing on 3, because they could have just ignored Lamian, but they didn't. They still kept that around, because they could have just gone with von Karstein and completely, or just given a little bit to the Strigoi and completely ignored the Lamian. And I'm actually surprised that they didn't do that, in total honesty, because whenever anyone thinks vampire counts, you don't think of the Strigoi, you don't think of the Lamian. Who do you think of when you think vampire counts?
The von Karstein.
Yeah, you think of Vlad and Isabella. I mean,
Yeah.
no shade on Manfred or Conrad, but because Manfred was a really interesting character and Conrad was just a waste. But you think of Vlad and Isabella when you think vampire counts, and that was the issue with the later editions for the army books. The focus was very much more on the von Karsteins than anything else. Even necromancers were kind of left in the shade, and I feel like that's going to be the case this time round. But they've got a different home now with Nagash, from what I know, who hands down is my favourite bad guy of all time.
Yes.
Bec-
See that unit that I have just killed now belongs to me.
It's not just that he's in the lore, he's such a terrifying figure that at certain points in the End Times books, it's almost a question of like the Empire is so fucked in the End Times books that you're like, all right, it's not a question of whether the Empire can stand, it's a question of who's going to win, Nagash or the Chaos Gods.
Yeah.
And I really didn't know. I was just like, I honestly think Nagash could take this. Like, he's pretty much a god now, and he is in Age of Sigmar, which is exactly where he should be. Nothing wrong with the lore there. Nagash should be the god of undeath. And I'm such a fan of him that I've even included him in whenever I've run D&D games, I've included him as a bad guy, because I think he's such a good bad guy, and he doesn't need to be changed when I've included him. I haven't tried to make him my own or anything. I've just gone, it's Nagash, you know what you're dealing with here. Because I remember you was just like, yeah.
Sort of quick run.
No, it wasn't everyone was sort of like quick run. You was just like, yeah, no, I'm not dealing with that. And everyone was like, why? It's not that bad, surely. And you're just like, nope. The master's just like, we could...
Jesus Christ, that I have created, I'm going through it.
Yeah.
Bye guys.
The master's just like, we can take him. And you're just like, no. You don't appreciate what I'm saying here. No, we're not. Just nope. and I think they were just...
They're not as big of fans as Nagash
No.
as we are. So they don't know what he's capable of.
Well, the master's solution to everything is Orc. So yeah, it's... On to video games now. Bit of a tangent there. There has been a massive amount of video games announced. You may not have noticed this, Midnight, but there was like four new 40k games that came out on Steam.
Really?
Yeah.
I went into our local games workshop the other day, looking, just having a breeze through. I wanted I wanted to see what free models they had realistically. So I went down there to have a look, and in there was a White Dwarf with a free code. I think it's a couple of editions back now. But in there was a Steam thing for all the Warhammer games.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Well, it wasn't for all of them. It was for a lot of the older ones, which I really, really like. But to give you some idea of the shit that's come up, one thing is Battlesect, Warhammer 40,000 Battlesector, which from what I've seen is pretty much just 40k, the tabletop game, as a game, turn-based and everything. Warhammer Combat Cards got a Steam release. Warhammer Quest Silver Tower, which I might actually give a go. One that I told you about, Necromunda Hired Gun, a Doom-style first-person shooter where you hunt bounties. Well, I've seen footage of someone playing it. If you ever want to have a laugh and you're a Warhammer fan, go check him out. Rimmy Down Under. He runs a 40k themed armor unit. He's really, really funny to watch, and he's a huge Warhammer nerd. And him playing a hired gun, there's a bit where there's like a sump beast, which is such a like out there piece of lore that's barely been mentioned since like 3rd, 4th edition, or like only in Necromunda itself. Just so happy. Vermintide 2 got some releases earlier this year, just like DLCs.
Yeah, I've been I was gifted with Vermintide 2.
Did you know that there was a Warhammer 40,000 flying game where you play as orcs?
Really?
Yep, it's called Dakar Squadron Flyboys.
No, D-Master will be very happy with that.
Yep, it's relatively cheap and it's got very positive reviews, but it doesn't look like there's a lot to it.
Those
What?
orcs.
Yeah.
I wonder if you can build your own aircraft. 'cause
I think you just
okay.
I'm not entirely sure what's involved with it, but I know it definitely features Dakar jets, which the Master's a fan of anyway. Necromunda Underhive Wars, which is, it's not like Hired Gun. Underhive Wars is XCOM, or just like a turn-based squad strategy game, which is awesome. Another thing that got released and really, really flew under the radar, like no one seemed to notice this. Aeronautica Imperialis got a video game release last year.
Did it really?
Yep.
I know they're releasing some new models for it
Yeah, but this was
later on.
the Space Marines and Eldar that we talked about earlier. But yeah, last year, May 2020, Aeronautica Imperialis Flight Command was released, and from what I've seen, like gameplay wise, it is pretty much Aeronautica Imperialis. But I hadn't heard anything about it. Like, it was so I didn't hear about it until it appeared on a YouTuber that I watched, and I was just like, what the hell? Where did this come from? But yeah, what'd you do? That there's been, aside from video games, because I for one I plan on getting Hired Gun at some point because that looks like so much fun. I have a bolter. Bum 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 bum. I am a grown man, I promise. Another thing that's been announced that I'm not too sure about, in total honesty. Warhammer Plus. Now, I spoke to you about this before midnight.
Yeah. Have we had any more news on it?
This may be something that we will have to cover briefly in the next podcast. But Warhammer Plus, the details for it are going to be coming out on the 23rd of June. Or more details will be coming out for it on the 23rd of June.
Well, that's not far away.
No, that's Wednesday. So, and I'm very much... Now, chances are they couldn't secure a deal with another streaming service, and they don't want to use YouTube and then get demonetized. So they're setting up their own system doing it. Completely understandable. It is a rather niche product. Seeing the stuff that I've seen, I'm looking very forward to it. I mean, bearing in mind one of the big pinnacle shows that they've got on there is Angels of Death, and it's all about blood angels. I'm really excited. There's another one which there's Sororitas, I think it's called, which you might be interested in, Midnight. But it's kind of telling that they haven't released a price for it yet, and everyone's just like, okay, if it's over if it's over a tenner, I'm not going to get it. I won't get it if it's over a tenner. I won't. I don't care how many shows are going to be put on there and how many of them look interesting. I'm not going to get it if it's over a tenner. I don't view it. It's if I've got to choose between that and like I'm a wrestling fan, so I've got WWE Network or Netflix. I'm going to go with them over something that I'm going to watch, finish, and then barely ever use again because they've got a limited team to release it. Like. I mean, like, come on. I'm very
I'm excited to see what it's all about.
yeah. And apparently there's going to be apparently there'll be subscriber benefits that will, and this is a quote, will blow your socks off. Okay, unless they're planning, yeah, that is a direct quote. The full lineup and awesome subscriber benefits will blow your socks off. We'll have more news about how it works and how you get it on the 23rd of June. To which everyone's like, okay, awesome, we're finally going to get... Actually, I remember like seeing the posts and everyone responded to this. This got a very, very mixed reaction online, this announcement. You may not have seen this much, Midnight, but it's had a very mixed reaction. Because a lot of people are like... Because there's been hints that there's going to be subscriber-only models and stuff like that. And it's like, boy, is it going to be something like the... Is it... What was it called? Is it Dark Imperium? The subscriber thing that you got? You know...
Yes. Yes, that was a mix of...
Where you got all the different units and everything like that.
Warhammer and fantasy, and how to put them together, how to paint them.
Little pieces of lore, everything like that.
Yeah.
Really, really good lineup. I actually really, really liked it. And you've got some cool terrain pieces out of it that we wouldn't have gotten otherwise.
I did. I got the crane, just the crane and the cars that go
Brilliant.
with it, rather than buying the whole box set.
Brilliantly painted by the Master 777. But unless they're going to do something like that, where like as part of the kind of like a loot crate where you get stuff sent out to you every month. Actually, that might not be a bad idea for them to do if they wanted to match the price of it. Do something like Loot Crate with less items because you're getting the animations as well.
Yeah, I would like to see something like that.
Yeah.
That is something that I would like to see.
Because I think that would be a fair trade for it. And I would even think about getting it. But right now, I'm very, very wary. And expect more information on the next podcast. I won't go into it too much. I'll just give like a quick thoughts on the information that's come out, how I feel about it. No doubt you'll hear me complain or praise it on Wednesday midnight, so you'll know before everyone else my opinion, because I'll probably tell you myself what they've said. But we can't make a judgment yet, but I'm very, very sceptical on what they're going to do, because Games Workshop have routinely pissed off the community in recent years. So
It will be interesting to see what sort of content it is.
yeah,
Maybe it's their new, like the kids animated series thing they were doing. Maybe that'll be on there. That'd be interesting.
yes. Well, actually, I'll tell you what. They announced that, obviously. Or, I remember in the teaser trailer, they showed those animations, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Well, not one of the shows that is mentioned seems to feature that. None of them. Okay, so to go over the shows that have been announced for Warhammer Plus, you've got Hammer and Bolter, which is an anthology of animated stories featuring characters and factions from across the worlds of Warhammer. Hammer and Bolter has something for every Warhammer fan, and they've already announced. So each one's a standalone episode. That's
I wonder if he's going to be working with the books. The novels.
chances are they're going to be featuring a lot of the short stories with Hammer and Bolter, and making those because they're relatively easy and quicker to make than like the full novels, which a lot of these are based off of. You got Angels of Death, the big showpiece, which they showed the first 7 minutes of Angels of Death. I'm going to tell you right now, it's fantastic.
That's a lot of screen time.
If
7
you
minutes.
Yeah, and it's just the intro really, and I tell you what, I fully encourage you, if you haven't already watched it and you listen to me right now and just like I don't know, go and watch it. It's on the Warhammer community website, and I fully encourage you to watch it because I actually think it's really, really good, and shows a lot of promise. The next one. Now, this I actually find kind of interesting. Bearing in mind it covers a subject matter that I don't actually give a monkey's toss about normally in the lore, which is called, and this is called the Exodite. And to give the description here, in the midst of a brutal conflict, Ta'al stealth team must undertake a critical mission against the armies of the Imperium. But the Ta'al aren't the only force vying for dominion here, and powers far older and more mysterious are at play. That actually sounds kind of cool.
It does.
I'd be willing to give it a go. If I didn't like it, I didn't like it. But I doubt it would be from poor writing. It would just be because I don't care about the Tau or the Elder. And that's what they're talking about there. It's about the Elder. But I don't care about them much. The next show, Iron Within. When beleaguered Astra Militarum, Imperial Guard forces face annihilation, they must turn to salvation from a most unlikely source. Is the enemy of your enemy really your friend? Well, I'm going to tell you right now who this is about. It's about the Iron Warriors. It's about the Iron Warriors probably teaming up with Death Korps of Krieg. So expect the shovel memes. Because by the name itself, Iron Within, well, that's part of their motto. Iron within, iron without. So it kind of a giveaway there, but it's just like, okay, cool. Altar of Wrath. After a grinding war of attrition, the last Black Templars of a crusade seek to strike a final, decisive blow against the Necrons to end the battle for good. Alright, you want to appeal to the Dawn fanboys? I actually reckon that won't be too bad. Because the Black Templars...
It doesn't sound too bad.
No. But I'll tell you right now, the Black Templars are the biggest arseholes in the 41st millennium. Out of all the Space Marines. So, don't expect Black Templars to feature predominantly in the future. Black Talon. A notorious hunter is unleashed to slay Sigmar's most grievous foes. But the secrets of Neve Black Talon's past follow wherever she treads, even beyond death. I'm just going to... I know I keep on repeating this, but I'm just going to say right now, just so any of you listening can appreciate this. This is the only one that's been mentioned that is set in Age of Sigmar. It actually is. Even all of the other ones that are still to go, Black Talon is the only one that is set in Age of Sigmar. All of the others are 40k. But I thought that you got the majority of your money, like, from Age of Sigmar Games Workshop, or specific Games Workshop employee that told me that with a smug look on his face as he said it. Well, if that's the case, why is there only one Age of Sigmar animation coming out?
They might just be to test the waters. There is quite a lot of fan
Right.
made
The fan, yeah. I entirely agree with you. The fan-made stuff always tends to be more 40, or the fan-made stuff always tends to be more 40k than fantasy. That's always been the case. But bearing in mind, you've been with me when you've heard a specific Games Workshop employee say that.
yes.
If that's the case, why is there only one show coming out for it? Bearing in mind, I actually read an Age of Sigmar short story that I enjoyed. I was surprised. But Who was it about? Well, fucking Gotrek, of course. The Slayer himself from the old world. So, of course, I liked it. It's a grumpy ginger dwarf being a grumpy ginger dwarf with a big axe. Of course, I liked it. I think it was. I think that they should have done that first. I'm going to give it a go because I might actually like it. But I actually think that they could have done. If they really wanted to get some of the older fans back into it, they should have gone with Gotrek. Because that's one character that a lot of fans can agree they love from Warhammer Fantasy. So, missed opportunity there. Next one, Interrogator. This tale of crime and heresy in an imperial hive city explores the tragedy and horror that haunts the servants of the Inquisition. Interrogator blurs the lines between right and wrong. Can the ends ever justify the means? Yes. Yes, they can. In the 41st millennium, yes, they can. When you're having to deal with Genestealer cults, Chaos cults, orcs, traitors, greed, just the scum of humanity, and you are the thin line keeping the darkness from enveloping it, yes, it can. Unless you're Inquisitor Karamazov, in which case you can go and fuck yourself with that sword that you carry on your fucking dreadnought chair, you pompous prick. God, I hate that man. I think,
That one sounds quite interesting.
yeah, that
seems like it's running along the crime series.
Yeah, which is it piqued my interest, and I've seen some of the footage to it, and it's very much, you know, Sin City.
Yes.
It screams Sin City, like the whole like noir vibe and everything like that. It's very much like a noir detective thriller, which I think is a perfect way to do something like that, and I think it will really, really work. Next one, Broken Lance. Towering war machines stride the battlefield in a drama that sees the survivors of a once noble house of Imperial Knights facing the sins of their predecessors. Okay, so we're getting one about Imperial Knights, trying to cover all of the, 40k hard-on points there, for want of a better term. Actually, I think that's pretty accurate. I actually am not that interested in it. I don't know about you, but that
I
one...
want to see how they depict them.
Well,
How they actually.
yeah, yeah. So, that's a really good way to put it. I want to see how the damn things move, and I don't mean how they moved in Dawn of War 3. I want to see them actually move and fight and like duel other knights. I reckon that would be cool to see. So I take it back. I reckon the fight scenes will be awesome, but I'm not holding out hope for the story or the dialogue. But the animation and the fight scenes, yeah.
It might change your mind.
Pariah Nexus. Explore silence and death in the darkest corners of the galaxy. As the Indomitus Crusade reaches the Pariah Nexus, strength and faith will be tested to the limit. I'm pretty sure that is focused on the Ultramarines. I don't have an issue with that. I'll give it a go. But it is something to bear in mind. If you hate Ultramarines, don't watch it.
I suppose we'll get more info as it goes along.
Yeah.
Won't we?
All that really exists at the moment for a lot of these is, aside from Angels of Death, is just the emblems for the shows, if you will. Next one.
Right.
This one's a little bit more interesting. High Lords. Politics and treachery abound in the Imperial Palace. For 10,000 years, the High Lords have governed the Imperium in the Emperor's stead. But such power brings corruption, intrigue, and danger to all who would grasp it. That sounds really fucking cool.
It does. It kind of sounds like a game.
Yeah,
You
it's-
have to go and
It's almost like,
renew all the big figures.
or like Lords of Waterdeep.
Yeah.
Or those kinds of games where you're trying to like play each other off, or another example would be like Monopoly. You're trying to like con people and everything like that. Plus, that means that we'll finally get to see inside the Imperial Palace for the first time, and not just in a book.
Yeah. No, that. I'd I'd be really interested in
Yeah.
seeing what type of setting they set it in.
Yeah. I think it will be very. I get a feeling that the politics will be very like Game of Thrones, like cutthroat. If you get what I mean.
Well, I wouldn't expect any less.
No. And
In a
last,
place that rises corruption
yeah.
and greed.
And last but certainly not least, and probably the one aside from Angels of Death I'm looking forward to the most, Astartes 2. Now you've seen Astartes, Midnight. One of the best fan-made animations ever. In fact, I've never seen the Space Marines look as badass as they did in that. But to get a follow-up season of... Yes. Oh my god, yes. Just...
It's worth it just for that 1 month.
It's... Yeah, just to see them like walk through a bunch of cultists. Oh, yeah, give me it. Gimme. I need to watch. I need to see them just walk through cannon fodder. So yeah, I'm really intrigued in that, most definitely. But obviously this is all a
I
bit.
wonder if they've got the same people to do the
Yeah, it is.
animation for that.
The gentleman that did Astartes actually got picked up by Games Workshop and got given a job on their team.
So that's the kind of thing,
Yeah.
you know, good hope stories.
Well, the man, to my knowledge, the bloke that's running the animation team for Games Workshop is the gentleman that did, and I think you've seen clips from it, but you haven't watched the whole film. He did the animation to Hell's Reach, where he took the audiobook, just did animations to it, and then just did the lines to like the characters speaking. Really clever way of doing it. And did like the entire book in this stylized way.
That does sound interesting.
Yeah. I wouldn't recommend it for your youngsters though, because the main chapter featured in the book are the Black Templars. And at one point, some of the Salamanders, the nicest men in the galaxy, show up, and I think they refuse to leave the civilians to die, and the Black Templars want to, and as a result of the Salamanders refusing to leave them, the Black Templars lose some squad members, and they demand that they leave. That's the kind of people that the Black Templars are. Completely missing the whole point of the Space Marines. Completely missing it. But that's the flaw with the Black Templars in general, isn't it? But yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what Games Workshop have in mind for Warhammer Plus, because I reckon it will definitely be interesting. Now, back onto the subject of main 40k itself. This is kind of off of the subject of new releases, but kind of still broaching on it. Why in the love of fuck has there been nothing but Space Marine releases for the last 2 years? Oh, well, Orcs got their new thing, didn't they? Their new boys that they got. But why is it...
An updated Gazgul.
Oh, and an updated Gazgul. Yay. Why have they not released the fucking Death Copters that they have in plastic? Why are the Death Copters that they still have on the website the old metal ones that look like fucking cardboard boxes with propellers stuck to the top of them? I mean, in total honesty, they've
I have no idea why they're still.
I mean,
the one.
in the defence of the old models, it was a time and they're an iconic piece and nothing to take away from them. But we have new models. They made them. Why were they only released in Black Reach? I mean, I remember when we first started off in 5th edition, and Assault and Black Reach used to go for insane prices purely to get the Death Copters.
Yeah, it used to.
Like
I was having a look on eBay, and a single uncut one was going for 150 quid. Just one,
That's a piss take.
on its own, just one.
I will say this though. Xenos players, listen and hear well. If you play Tau, Orcs, Eldar, Dark Eldar, Necrons, or Genestealer cults and complain about a lack of releases for your armies, you can kindly and politely go fuck yourself with an Avatar of Cain. The reason I say that is because you have all got at least some form of new release in recent years. The Tyranids, however, haven't had a new release, and I'm pretty sure, I'm going to double check this now, but I'm pretty sure the last release for Tyranids was 2013. I could be wrong, however.
It was a very, very long time ago.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that they were models that had taken them ages to release in the first place.
Yeah, because they were in the 5th edition codex, some of those models.
Okay. Jesus Christ. Someone's done a list here of Space Marine models that have been released since the last Tyranid model release.
Can we add that to the description?
I don't want to make it too long for people. Jesus Christ. Alright, the last release for Tyranids wasn't 2013. It was December 2014. And it was the Broodlord.
Seriously?
You remember when they released the updated Broodlord that was actually really, really cool?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the last release. That was the last release. Genestealer cults don't fucking count because it's not Tyranids.
No, because they're the new old system thing that they brought back.
Yeah, and I'm glad that they brought them back. I'm really, really glad that they brought them back. But they are not Tyranids. But during that time...
They're a whole separate thing altogether.
It's not pretty midnight. There's at least 50 models here.
What was the last proper... Oh, I don't know.
What
was the non-Space Marine thing, or non-Necron?
Well, now it is the new Orc models that released. Before that, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure before the Necrons got their full update as part of 9th edition, it might have been the Eldar actually with their plastic Howling Banshees, which I couldn't believe when they announced that they were releasing in plastic, because I was like, Howling Banshees are like a staple. Why are they only being released in plastic now? Because they're one of the most iconic models for Eldar, Howling Banshees. So I was really, really surprised that they've only just got in plastic. And apparently a large portion of their aspect warriors are still in metal or fine cast.
The Four Tails of Minecraft.
Citadel Finecast, the worst decision Games Workshop made. In fact, it was so bad. And bearing in mind, they've stuck to their guns of Age of Sigmar. It was so bad, Citadel Finecast only lasted a year.
Yeah.
And then
So many
they
other types of resins and things they could have used a different...
well, they should just use the Forge Rod stuff. Forge Rod weren't perfect at the time, but it was miles better than what we was getting with Finecast.
Yeah.
It was brittle as well, incredibly brittle.
Yeah, no, I've got a couple of models that have shattered
Yeah,
just from a drop off the table, and they're just shattered.
it's not. It wasn't worth the money that you was paying for it.
No. I was one of the lucky ones when I bought my Isabella, because there was a issue with the mould. She had a dimple in her chin. I was one of the lucky ones that didn't have that.
Ah,
I was one of the 4% that didn't have the dimple in her chin.
actually, talking about other things, I did a double check of something. Yeah. I went onto a inflation calculator. Yeah.
Oh yes, we were talking about
Yeah.
things, weren't we?
I went onto an inflation calculator, and this was a couple of weeks ago, and compared the prices of Space Marines that I bought. The price that a box of 10 tactical Marines would cost me back when I started in 5th edition, compared to what they and what they would be worth now in 2021. And actually, they're £2 more.
That it.
Yeah. Like the old box is technically £2 more than the current one. Now, obviously, Hazan, I know Australian, New Zealand players. It sucks, all right, because you don't just have the inflation to worry about. You also have the shitty import costs. Have you seen the prices of the Australian and New Zealand stuff?
No, I know we managed to at some stage. I don't know how we managed it. We changed the currency into yen, and oh my god, the zeros.
Yeah, but that's just because it's yen.
I know,
But
it was stupid. There was like 8 zeros.
oh yeah, Games Workshop, the website went through a phase where you'd go on it and it'd just pick a random nation. But if I was to go to the New Zealand Games Workshop, it'll come up with New Zealand prices, obviously. So let's go to Warhammer 40,000, and I will very quickly just look up. Let's. Okay. A squad of 5 heavy intercessors. Wow. Okay, I need to put a convert. Because I've just seen the price, and I need to see. Okay, so Jesus. Right, bear with.
Suspense on this side.
Yeah, bear with me because I need to check. Because this,
Sit down.
because that can't. Oh my god. Okay. So a squad of 5 heavy intercessors will cost you in the UK £39.50, right? Still quite pricey for what you're getting, but fair enough. Inflation, everything like that. I don't know if I'd pay that for them. I think that's a bit too much, but £39.50, right? The same squad in New Zealand dollars costs 124 New Zealand dollars.
How? How is that a thing?
When you put that into a converter, right, 124 New Zealand dollars is equivalent to £62.29 sterling.
Wow.
They're paying
That's
an extra
huge
20 quid for the same squad. So that's we can buy a squad and a half, almost, or we can almost buy 2 squads. Not quite, but a squad and a bit. Say we can buy a squad and a bit for the same price as squad and a half for the same price that they're buying one. That's a piss take.
Yeah, that is.
Like, how bad are the import costs? That's
That is just ridiculous on so many levels.
okay. Another example here. Right, so Combat Patrol Space Marines. It's a pretty good setup that you're looking at for Combat Patrol Space Marines. You get a pretty decent amount of models. You get 18 models in total. Um, all in the more specialised like infiltrator armour, as well as some of the geezers that got jump packs and auto cannons because balance. And you get a transport. In the UK, that will set you back £85. It's pretty average for what you're looking at. Prices over here.
Yeah, definitely. Especially if it's got a vehicle in it as well.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty good setup. I think it's pretty good setup anyway. I'm not 100% sure if it comes with a HQ like some of them do, but I'm pretty sure it does.
I would assume also, or you can change one of the guys into
I'm sure you could make one a lieutenant or something. I'm pretty sure he can be taken as a HQ. Anyway, 85 quid for us, right? Going back over to the New Zealand Games Workshop, $280. Putting that
Wow.
into it makes it £140.66 sterling. What?
See, that
That's almost two of them. That's 20 quid off a two. No, not 20 quid. That's 30 quid off a two of them.
no, that's not. Yeah, that's disgraceful. Absolutely disgraceful.
And then Games Workshop are like, oh, you know, why aren't they getting like popular? And admittedly, it's because the New Zealand dollar has fallen. So one New Zealand dollar is equivalent to 50p, right? But even when you take that into account, they're different. Like the extra on top of it, like how much? I mean, you're looking. So that is, oh God, that's £55 extra they're paying for it. That's
Buy yourself a whole new starter box for that sort of money.
yeah.
You
That's
buy a whole army for what they're paying.
That's-
just ridiculous.
I mean another. Let's check the prices for the Americans, because it probably isn't as bad for the Americans because they've probably got different import taxes and stuff like that as
Yeah, but
as you'd expect.
they're still running about. I think there's like 20p in it for them to ask. Well, there was last time I checked.
Okay, so it's $140 in the States for it, which converts to £101 sterling.
So that's better.
That's a £15 difference. Now I know full well transporting it across the world is going to ramp up prices. But
Yeah, definitely.
these are not the big old boxes that they used to be anymore. They're much, much more compact, especially to start collecting boxes. I mean, the older like Battle Force boxes, you'd be able to fit your almost an entire army into those damn things. I kept my Imperial Guard one for God knows how long. Do you remember that? Like, it was all frayed around the edges because they carried it around. You can't do that with the new boxes because of how compact they are. So,
If they're also made so flimsy,
oh,
slight bit of water, and it just disintegrates.
oh, you sneeze and yeah,
It's flying off the table.
yeah, it's to international players of 40k. Your loyalty to the game is to be fucking commended. I'll tell you that. Like Jesus.
Oh,
And
I
also-
think they have actually got Warhammer shops over there.
Yeah, they do. I know that for a fact. I used to have a couple of friends.
Less actually buying it from the store rather than online.
Or maybe it could also be another case of, because we have the same thing in our hometown, don't we? Where we've got our Warhammer store, but we've also got our local just gaming store, like tabletop gaming store. and they are cheaper,
Yeah.
and also tend to have stuff in stock that Games Workshop doesn't, like the Blood Angels Battle Force.
They do quite a lot of the stuff that fits in the shelf.
Yeah, well they had 2 Blood Angel combat, well the older, not the new one that's shit, the old one that was good.
Yeah, I've noticed they do hold quite a few of the older
Kits.
generation of stuff.
Yeah. And which is why it's been very, very useful, I will not lie. Because I was able to pick up your Araman for your birthday last year from there.
Yeah.
I ain't got a clue what I'm going to get you for your
got my-
birthday this year.
I actually got my Chaos Possess from there. But if I went to our normal Warhammer store, I would have had to order them and paid extra for getting them delivered.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure it's free if you get them delivered in store, innit? Or is that changed?
No, I actually don't know. But I would have got them delivered to home because I didn't know when I was going to be in town next because of all the COVID and everything. So it was just safer, realistically, to get them delivered to home.
I mean, at the end of the day, Games Workshop is a business. And as a business, they are there to make money. That's, like it or lump it, that's what businesses are there to do. They need to make money to produce the models for the shit that we want. And I don't like the fact that it is as bad as it is. No one does. But I mean, I know people that buy bolt action models for their guard because they're cheaper, a lot cheaper. But I've bought bolt action models, and I know full well that they are at me bolt action fans, but they are not to the same quality that 40k models are. They're good, don't get me wrong, they're good, but they don't have the resources or the build that Games Workshop have made over the years, and they are not as good as the Games Workshop models, and you can tell that they don't fit. And I think it is a shame what has happened to 40k. I mean, all the new stuff that's coming out, a lot of it is great, but there's a lot of it that is very, very questionable.
Yeah.
And
But then, if everyone started complaining, they'd have to do something.
I don't think they would. Look at Age of Sigmar. Everyone fucking hated it when it first came out, and it's still here.
Yeah.
And from what I've heard, it is a much better game now than when it first came out. But it's still here. Games Workshop will make money despite themselves.
Yeah. But I do find it really off-putting. Like, I can't go into my Games Workshop and play the old variant of the game.
Well, one thing that really annoyed me, this is nothing. When Blood Bowl was first released, re-released, sorry. I went in and I was planning on buying the starter set because I really wanted to get into Blood Bowl, and I asked the manager of the store when he was, are you going to be running Blood Bowl League? And he looked at me and went, we're not going to be running them, I'm afraid. And I was like, what? And apparently, Games Workshop up on high had told their managers that they weren't allowed to run any leagues because there was no money to be made in it. Because of how Blood Bowl works. You buy your team and that's it, you're done. You're not going to buy more models. And that's legitimately why why Blood Bowl League was never run out of Games Workshop. I don't know if you knew that, Midnight.
No, I remember something about that they weren't going to do it because there was Someone said there wasn't enough interest in it.
That was
The
horseshit.
game,
That was
the
absolute
game
horseshit.
that they hyped up consistently for a month and a half, there was no interest in it.
One of the most popular spin-off titles they've ever come out with. Whenever I've heard someone say that there's not enough interest in Blood Bowl, I always point out that's because Games Workshop don't put the interest into it. There's no focus on it. It was just, it's released, there you go, you're happy. There's
Well, it-
give us 80
they
quid for the
can
starter
no
set.
longer release it. There's no models in the Games Workshop at the moment for it.
No, if you want to get a Blood Bowl team for us, either we have to order it online or we have to go into our local gaming store, who are planning on running a Blood Bowl league at some point because,
They did do
As-
a while back,
yeah,
and they are looking at bringing it back once they allow more people in the store.
yeah. Which would be awesome because I definitely want to make a team up anyway because I'm going to base it off of one of the teams in our
Yeah,
D&D
I'd
world.
Go and watch something like that. The energy. To
Yeah,
it.
I think that would be fun. What else? Necromunda kind of seems to have just dropped by the wayside. Actually, I remember.
There has been some new releases. I was having a look the other day. There has been a couple of new box set releases.
See, the models for Necromunda are always really good or really shit.
Yeah, well, this new one I was having a look was more tiles
Yeah,
and not very many models. So it was more like an add-on box to what has
Yeah.
been released. They're bringing out some new dice sets. That's kind of exciting.
yeah, but they bring that dice sets all the bloody time. It's like they did it for Horus Heresy, and it's like, I mean, I would love to get into Horus Heresy because it's one of my, it's the root of 40k itself, and I know for a lot of people it's not their thing. Like Demaster, for example, would hate it because he'd be like, "Why would I want to play just Space Marines against Space Marines?" Well, that's the whole. It's telling the story. Well, why would you want to tell a story in a 40k game? Because that's what I like. Nah, orcs. Daka 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 daka. You know, that's.
That is necessary.
And it's not for everyone. Not everyone likes Space Marines. That's not what attracted them to the game in the first place. And I completely fucking get it. But there's a lot of us where it did. Like, I know full well that if you had the money to, you'd quite happily do a Thousand Suns Heresy Force. You know,
I would.
in the red, in the bright, gleaming red and gold.
Original colours,
Yeah, because you'd just be like,
they would just
yeah.
be glorious.
and have like the pre traitor Magnus and just be like all like glorious and everything. Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
sick.
No, I would absolutely love that.
I'd quite happily do a Night Lord's Force. Or, pardon me, or a Blood Angels one. I know full well because the boy said it himself when we walked him to school the other day. He was wanting to do, well, in his own words, I said, "You're going to have 4 Dark Angels armies, aren't you?" And he was just like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "Well, you're going to have a Loyalist one, a Loyalist 40k one, and a Fallen 40k one, and then a Loyalist Horus Heresy one, and a Fallen Horus Heresy one." And he was just like, "Yeah, sounds about right." It's just like, yeah, I fucking know it. But
I do find it funny how he doesn't like the look of the new Primaris models.
yeah, no, I think that's hilarious. It's if any of us are buying him Dark Angels models, and we're going to wait until he's a little bit older before we get him his first models. The boys already
Because
decided.
they have to start buying them now. So
Yeah.
they have them,
Yeah,
because they're going to be like gold dust by the time he's ready to
definitely.
start painting and playing.
And just get a good mix, so he's got a good idea of what he's going for. Because although he likes the new Dread, he prefers the older bulky one, doesn't he? So,
He does. He
Yeah.
does.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to get to the point where the only way to get older tactical Marines, like in the true sense, is to buy the Heresy stuff, I reckon.
Highly possible, or eBay, but eBay
Yeah.
can be very hit and miss.
Yeah, and the prices will shoot up.
I was trying to find one of the older dreadnoughts, and you couldn't buy them for love nor money.
No,
So
they're an absolute
if you
nightmare
wanted
to
a
get your hands
painted
on.
One, they were fine, but you had to buy the army to go with them,
Mm.
and it was just a ball ache just to find a light armour's a damn thing.
But I love, because obviously Demaster's tried to get the boy onto orcs, and although the boy does like the orcs, he's still a Dark Angels fanboy at heart.
Yeah, but
It's-
he is an orc player for Aeronautica. He
Oh,
might
yeah.
explore with you.
But if I was,
Cool brain.
yeah, but I guarantee
Yeah.
you, if I was to turn around and say to him, I've got a spare Thunderhawk. Do you want it to be painted up as a Dark Angel Thunderhawk, and you can use it? I guarantee you he'd switch to that.
He probably will do.
Over the orcs,
It's
he would
fantastic,
he would switch to that because he'd be like, I can have Dark Angels in Aeronautica. Oh my god, this is amazing! Yes, I'm doing it. And he would.
Yeah, he would do.
He would in a heartbeat. Because although he loves the orcs, I think he loves the orcs more because he's seen how Demaster uses them on the tabletop and plays with them. And the
So he got really excited when I swapped armies with the Master for a minute
yeah,
and played them completely different. But he still got excited over the fact that
actually I just realised something.
play them
That's your
however you want.
that's your only solo win.
Yes.
Your only solo
That's a
win,
good point.
and it wasn't even your own damn army.
I know. I am so gutted with it, but I don't care.
Admittedly, I think the major issue with you is that you need to learn how psychic powers work, because that is the cornerstone of.
They have changed so much.
Yeah,
since I
it's
first
com-
started.
It's completely different from
I
5th
lost-
edition now.
Especially as I lost track for a little while. But there's
Yeah.
so many new things I've got to learn, and I don't have the time to learn everything.
I mean, the way things are looking up, because obviously, if you have like different setups in your group, please feel free to let us know in the comments. But for us, the only two players in our group that seem to have any real interest in taking Psychers is myself and you. Like Eyebrows won't touch them.
So the Master has his as a whole army, because he has.
Yeah, I know, but he hasn't. I know he plans on taking some. He plans on taking some weird boys at some point, but he doesn't have any yet. And obviously, Braze, he doesn't. No, I know what you're going to say, and I'm going to tell you right now, he does not have a weird boy. I know he keeps saying that he does, but he doesn't. He's got like 3 pain boys, and they're all the same bloody model.
Oh no, I know what happened to his one. It was a fine cast one, and the boy stepped on it.
Ah, yeah, that'll do it.
The Master had all his new models out on the floor, and being a small child, he is very.
Actually, I'm pretty sure
excited.
wasn't the boy playing with them because he used to like playing with them, and he's not
Yeah,
allowed to
yeah.
now because he kept on breaking them.
Yes.
Admittedly,
yes,
and I'm going to say
yeah,
this,
he
that's
was
not the
probably
boy's
the
fault.
fine cast one.
Yeah, but that's not the boy's fault. That's the master's fault for using plastic glue after they're painted, because you can't do that because it won't stick properly.
No.
And I did tell him that, and he completely ignored me.
Well, it's one of those I've
Yeah.
learned that if you slightly score where you're painted,
Yeah,
when it's on a contact
Or-
point,
or
it
use a-
works so much better.
or use a small file,
Yes.
which
I am one of those that take a knife to things.
Whereas the master is one of the laziest painters I've ever met, which still somehow comes out with decent paintwork. I've never wanted to punch somebody.
Painting orcs, it doesn't matter if you make a mistake. It's orc.
Yeah, true.
You have an excuse.
But it's smooth. It's smooth, Midnight.
I know.
But irregardless, he's got one of the best painted armies in the group. And the other person that plays in our group, Braze, has no psychers because he plays Tau. So he doesn't have access to them. But I don't have so much of an issue with that because I don't think he would take them anyway if he had access to them.
No, I don't think he would.
No.
He doesn't strike me as that.
Not until someone unleashed the full power of a psyker on him, and then he'd take a psyker, because he'd be like, "Yeah, I'm not taking up with no defense again. I need something to counter this." But I mean, we've had some crappy players over the years to deal with, and I'm not talking about he who must not be named. I'm talking about people like your friendly Grey Knights and Deathwatch player, who would just flat out cheat.
Yes, and argue till the sky is orange.
Just about a rule, even when he was shown the rule. I remember that Eyebrow showing him that rule and telling him how it works, and he still wouldn't back down from it. And it's the only time I've ever seen Eyebrows just go, "Do you know what? I don't care." Only time I've ever seen him just stop caring in a 40k game. But I think that's like any game that you play, whether it's a video game, a card game like Magic the Gathering or Yu-Gi-Oh, which you also used to cheat a lot in, or 40k, or any tabletop game. Any game like that, you're going to come across people like that, without fail. But you've also got the other kind of bad player, and just a bad member of the community. Like, and you'll kind of get this because you joined the same time as me and was part of this. Back in 5th edition, the hatred that was levelled against Ultramarines.
Yeah.
And the mocking of Ultramarines players. And it was just like, why? I mean, even I was guilty of this, but that was because I didn't like the look of the Ultramarines, and I thought they looked a bit silly. Saying that, I play Blood Angels who run around in bright red armour, so I couldn't really talk. And after a while, maybe because I've gotten older, I look back at them now and I'm just like, do you know what? I'd quite happy. Well, I've got an Ultramarine special character now. To paint up.
I wasn't just a fan. I didn't like them mostly because of the lore of them.
I think the issue in 5th edition was,
Yeah.
the 5th edition codex was written by a fan of the Ultramarines, so they were portrayed as the ultimate. Even other founding chapters such as the White Scars and the Raven Guard look to them as the pinnacle of what it takes to be a Space Marine, and that justifiably. I mean, I know it's a bit silly to get all jumped up about a game and a fictional universe, but that upset a lot of players because it was just like, what the hell? Like,
There wasn't an equal balance.
no, there really wasn't, and that's, I mean, but I maintain it's stupid to hate on the Ultramarines because for a lot of people it all comes down to they're the poster boys. Yeah, well, someone's got to be. In my mind, every army has a poster boy faction within it. If you really think about it, every army does. Like Tau, you've got they've changed what the poster boy colour scheme is, but it used to be the yellow Tau set, didn't it? That was the poster boy colour scheme. Now it's the gorgeous whites with like the red helmets that they have. Eldar didn't actually really have one, weirdly enough. But that's because there were so many bright colours. They just didn't need one.
Yeah, no.
Chaos Marines.
Model.
Chaos Marines, flat out, it was a Black Legion.
Yes, they were just everywhere.
Yeah.
You might have one odd model in a page.
Yeah.
That was a different type.
Or, especially during 5th edition, Red Corsairs.
Yes.
But that they just seem to disappear in Games Workshop mind after 5th edition. Like, they haven't really been a focus ever since. Not until Forge World did the Badab War books. Tyranids, it was High Fleet Leviathan.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And I maintain, Tyranid players, if you paint your Tyranids purple and then add black, and that's your colour scheme, you're not being original. You're not being unique, you're not being special. They're High Fleet Leviathan without the bone colour. Stop trying to kid
Yeah,
yourselves.
there was that paint scheme works more on the carapace colour than the skin colour.
Oh yeah, it always works out the same way.
That's how they've worked it.
Yeah, people always pick purple. I think that's the most overused paint scheme in 40k actually. I actually think that's the most overused one. Not Ultramarines, not Black Legion, not any of the other chapters or anything like that. I think the most overused colour scheme in 40k is black and purple Tyranids with the purple carapace and the black skin. I think that is the most overused colour scheme in 40k because I've seen so many Tyranid armies painted up that way by different people that have all just been like, oh no, it's a unique colour scheme. We've had 3 in our group.
Yep.
And
I painted one of those.
yeah, and it's no offense. If you like those colours, by all means go for it. I'm not telling you to do that. What I'm saying is that I personally believe it's the most overused colour scheme for Tyranids, and the most overused colour scheme in 40k in general. But that's from personal experience. I think the least underused colour scheme for Tyranids is actually the colour scheme for Behemoth, the blue and red. No one does that, and
Yeah,
it's
they do look amazing.
yeah, it is a really nice colour scheme, especially when you see Old One Eye painted up that way. That's a really
Yeah,
gorgeous.
It's a very,
Yeah.
very unique colour scheme that
Yeah.
fits the model.
Orcs, it's the Black Goths, unless they're vehicles, in which case it's the Speed Freaks. They kind of had 2, don't they? They've got the red ones go faster, and they've got the Black Goths one. It depends on the vehicle and the unit, but Black Goths is the most common for them.
Most people went with the old Gazgon model.
Yeah, who is a black?
That was their most favoured HQ.
Yeah, well, it was. When just at HQ, it was. I think
Everyone just loved the model.
the old Gazgol model was the most overused HQ model. Not just for Gazgol, people would use his model to make their own war bosses. And
Yes, they were.
there was less of an issue of that because this was back in the old wild days where, like,
Counts as special rule.
yeah, counts as special rule, mixing bits together. It was much more free form in creation, and like you'd have like big mechs as well as war bosses made using Gazgol's model, and the creation that came from it was absolutely brilliant. What other factions have we got? Adeptus Mechanicus. Well, that's easy. The Adeptus Mechanicus army. The main colour scheme for that is just Mars, innit? Like the Mars legions with the red and everything. That's iconic for the Mechanicum. Certain factions such as the Blood Angels and the Grey Knights have obvious ones because those are the armies. Like the Blood Angels may have founding chapters, but they're going to go with a basis for it. There's got to be even Age of Sigmar has this. There's got to be a basis for them to sell the model, and it's not just for selling's sake as like a poster boy. It's also for convenience for newer people to the game. If you see a box, right, of 10 Tactical Marines painted up in blue, you know those are Space Marines. But then you see this other box where they look the same, but they're in red. Okay, they're a little bit different then. You see another one where they're in like bright shining silver, and they've got different helmets and loads of different weapons. You know, it's for convenience looking at it, that you can identify just by looking for a new person coming into the hobby what they are. And I think that is the most important factor, and why I don't have an issue with the Ultramarines anymore. Somebody had to do it. Somebody had to be the symbol of the Space Marines. And out of everyone, the one it makes most sense for is the Ultramarines. And I'm not an Ultramarines player or even an Ultramarines fanboy. My favourite Space Marine factions are the Night Lords and Blood Angels. But the Night Lords wouldn't make sense to be the poster boys of Chaos. And the Blood Angels wouldn't make sense to be the poster boys of the Space Marines. Because they're more unique. Whereas the Ultramarines are the template that many are based off of. And the Black Legion are the template that many Chaos Marines are based off of. That's just how it's
I
worked.
think also with the Black Legion, they are somebody's army that was brought into the game itself.
No, the Black... Although that has happened a lot, and that's... I don't think the Black Legion might have... No. I don't think the Black Legion started off as that, because Abaddon's been a figure for quite a while now. Couldn't exactly date him. But I would say they are the archetype. I mean, although the Ultramarines were one of the first chapters to be signified, that was amongst a cavalcade. I mean, originally the Ultramarines weren't even one of the founding legions. They weren't a founding chapter. Their number, which is 13, because that was their legion number, originally the chapter who wore that number went traitor, and the Ultramarines were formed and took the former chapter's number, because they didn't have the legions back in the old days. So originally, the Ultramarines weren't even a founding legion. That was changed. And the Crimson Fists existed before the Imperial Fists. Did you know that?
Well, I suppose that would make sense.
Yep. And bearing in mind that the Crimson Fists are now successor of the Imperial Fists, but the Crimson Fists existed before the Imperial Fists. The Dark Angels were around, but in Rogue Trader days, they wore their Heresy colour scheme. They didn't have the green of Caliban. 1 second.
No.
They had the black and red that they're famous for during the Heresy, but I like seeing how things have changed over time, and even back then things have changed drastically from Rogue Trader, and it's drastically different from back then. So people are like, oh, there was no need for a change. Yes, there is, because if the game didn't change, it was at risk of stagnation. That's a fact. You need to spice things up to keep people interested. And it has been really nice to be able to walk into Games Workshop stores and see 12, 13-year-olds, like kids, playing the game. Like that time that we went in, and the lads, and they were playing a game, and I went, what army's your one, mate? And he just went, oh, the Astra Militarum. And I just looked at him and went, that's the Guard, son. And he was like, they're the Imperial Guard, mate. Astra Militarum is just their new name, but they're the Guard. Oh, yeah. You know.
Yeah.
Gotta teach.
You want to see them excited about it.
Yeah, that's what's been really, really great. But actually, another thing that I think needs to be changed, and I think should be focused on a bit more, and luckily enough, our local gaming store, not Games Workshop, our local gaming store, has tried to work out a way to do this. I think that there should be an attempt to bring more women into 40k. And I don't mean by doing things like making female Space Marines, because they already exist. They're called Sisters of Battle. Stop trying to be in PC about it. And the reasoning why Space Marines are always male is an actual legit reason that makes sense, whether you like it or lump it. But we have female Space Marines that, in my opinion, are more badass than Space Marines. Actually think about it. You have an entire order of warrior nuns that don't have any of the strength benefits or the gene seed or the increases that the Space Marines have. Literally say fuck you to demons through prayer and bolt guns. The Sisters of Battle are fucking terrifying. Why do you need to? Why do you need female Space Marines when you've got the sisters who are more than capable of beating the crap out of Space Marines without all the benefits Space Marines have? What's the need for it? And then you're like, why do you have such an issue with it? Because you're putting it in for the fucking sake of it. You're putting it in because you're just like, we need equality. Yes, equality needs to be a thing, and I don't like to get political, and I know I am right now.
We have that.
But the
As
fear
a
that
female
yeah,
fire painter, I am quite content with the fact that we have the sisters.
I mean,
We have the demoness. You know, that
Eldar have females. Do I think that there could be a better female showing in the guard? Yes, I do actually. I definitely think there could be a better female showing in the guard.
they've just
Because-
started realistically bringing that in. They've got
Yeah.
a lot of work to do with it.
Yeah,
But as a start, I feel like they're making that first step.
yeah, and
And that's nothing to snot at. That's a good first step.
And to anyone that ever listens to our podcast and feels like, pardon me, that I'm bullying Midnight for her being a bad player, because she's a girl. She'll fucking turn around and say that I've had games where she's been on my team and we've been 4 turns in and she's looked at me and gone, "What's happening?" I'm like, "You're controlling the majority of the fucking army." Yeah, I haven't been paying attention to what's going on. What do you mean you haven't been paying attention to what's going on? You're holding our flank. Am I? Oh my god. Do you know which models are yours? Yeah, I can tell which ones I painted. Right. I think the one game that you paid the most attention to was the last game that we played, the 3-on-3. But even then you didn't have a clue what you was doing. And that wasn't just you, that was all of us. Because none of us had really played 8th edition apart from Eyebrows. And he had...
I've only ever played 5th.
Yeah. And what's worse, although Eyebrows had...
Throwing me in the deep end
Yeah.
didn't help the matter.
Well, what also didn't help is that despite the only person that had played 8th edition, which was Eyebrows, had never played it with Psychers. And he's got a player on his team who has nothing but Psychers. And he's just like, yeah, I've got no idea how the Psychic powers work or what you have. And we're just like,
Yeah, that's
well,
clever.
great. So, but we still managed to win. Admittedly, it went through...
Only because my greater possessor walked through the master's orcs.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Intently.
The master just like, my orcs, they're all dead. You still got your battle wagon. Don't be
I'm
condescending.
sure he would have cried if I had taken any more of his
That was-
blood, so-
That was such a one-sided
That's so
fight.
bad.
But
They just walked through like
it's
50 orcs.
don't get me wrong. If
50
any,
models.
hands down, right, when it comes to 40k, although I've ribbed Midnight, the master has never won a game of 40k against me. Not a single one. Right? And now obviously I've been playing for longer than he has, and he's never beaten me in 40k, but for what it's worth, I've never beaten him in Aeronautica Imperialis. Not once. I got close. Last game we had, I got bloody close. But the little shit got lucky. And even you've got to admit that he got lucky last game.
Yeah.
He managed to pull a lot of bullshit rolls out of nowhere. Because I devastated his Dakar Jets the first couple of turns. And then out of nowhere... And he ribs me for that. Because he's just like, yeah, the invincible orc airwag. And I'm just like, alright, I'll fucking let him have this one. Because, I beat him in 40k every time. He can beat me in Aeronautica. I've never won a game of Blood Bowl against him. No idea why. I just always lose. Oh no, I've got one draw. No, I did beat him. I did beat him once. Because I was playing the Skaven and I cheesed it. And
You're a rat, I suppose.
no, he just couldn't catch me. He just kept on falling over, and he just rolled in poorly all game. That was funny. But that's just how we are, and I think that a lot of groups are like that. We rib each other. The banter is strong with us, and if it goes too far, we tell somebody, or we tell the person and we're like, okay, I'm sorry, that went too far, we'll dial it back. And
Yeah, normally if you take it too far, the condition is you have to buy cookies.
yes,
So that probably helped as well, you know.
but it's in our when it comes to Warhammer, it's very much about compromise. You're going to have disagreements about new releases, like opinions on them, paint schemes, the right way to play, the right outlook to have.
Way to put a model together.
Yeah, the right. Well, less so now because they're kind of set, but especially in the older days, the right way to look. Like the master likes to say that I'm a lore Nazi. Like I know a lot of the lore of 40k, and I like to stick to it to the best of my ability, out of respect for the writers that have written for it. In his opinion, I do it a bit too much. I think he's wrong. But that's just our different outlooks, and we're best friends. And well, Midnight can tell you right now, we've had massive arguments with each other, but we've been laughing the entire time. Like, do you remember a couple of months ago when me and him are having that massive go at each other, and our mutual friends that I was seeing at the time was round, and she just sat there just like, what's going on? Like, are they okay? And you're just like, yeah, they're fine, give them a couple of minutes. Proper having a go at each other, and then we was completely fine, and she's just like, what the hell just happened? And you're just like, oh no, that's normal, that's just how they talk to each other. Like, that's just how we are, and I think that's important for your gaming group to have, not just for 40k, but also other games such as D&D, or if you're playing like a board game like Lords of Waterdeep or Dead of Winter. There's too many people that take it.
It's a lot of fun
Yeah.
when you're playing with people, especially when you kill yourself the first time you roll.
That was so fucking funny. I feel that arguments are part of a group. You're not going to agree with everyone. There's some people that I've played with that I think can be some of the biggest tosspots I've ever met, but also I think they're really good players and can be quite good to play with. There's one man in particular that comes to my mind. I don't know if he comes to yours, but you can guess who I'm talking about. Obviously, we don't name names here, but I know for what I always take the law quite seriously, and one of my pet peeves is when people ignore it. Other people, they don't give a monkey's uncle about the law. They just like painting the models and shouting orcs, 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 and just do that for the entire game until eventually I throw my fucking dice at you. Shut up, Demaster, you. And others are just, let's just sit down and paint and just put some music on and chat for like 6-8 hours. And there's no right way to do this hobby. There's no wrong way either. I know people that have never touched the models, but love the universe. One man that comes in mind that has features on the podcast before is Formus. Formus has never touched the models.
Huge game, the PC game.
But he knows almost as much as I do about the lore, because he's a PC gamer and he played some other games such as Dawn of War, Battlefleet Gothic Armada, games like that, and just fell in love with the universe. And that's what I love about it. If you're listening to this and you've ever thought of a moment of, or someone's ever done something in a 40k sense, whether it's argue with your point on a piece of lore or a theory, or if they've told you that you have no originality for painting your army a certain way, or they've mocked you for what your favourite chapter is, or how are you into 40k? You don't even play the game, or you don't even paint your models.
The songs, isn't it?
Yeah,
isn't it?
like there is there is something in this for everyone. And although each one of us has pet peeves when it comes to the hobby, like I don't like facing unpainted armies. But I also don't like fielding unpainted units myself. I don't like to be a hypocrite about it. But I know that for some people, they don't like painting. And that's completely understandable. They just want to play the game. Whereas other people would rather just sit down and paint and then fill up their display case with models. And it's like, oh, we're going to have a game. Do you fancy joining? Yeah, sure. I don't know what I'm doing. Midnight. But that's... Whereas others are like, they look at the prices, especially if you're from New Zealand, and balk at the prices and just like, I'll just stick to the video games. If you love Warhammer 40,000, then we are all part of the same community that loves it. If you don't love it, and you don't look at it and go, do you know what? No matter what they bring out, I still get enjoyment from this. Then maybe this isn't the hobby for you anymore. Because you shouldn't do something that you don't enjoy. I've left Warhammer a couple of times. So's Midnight. We've taken breaks from it entirely for a few years and then come back, discovered everything that's changed and gone, wow, that's different. And then just got back into the flow of things again.
I think this time around I've got more into the fantasy side than the Warhammer side itself.
Yeah, but you are more of a fantasy fan anyway.
Yes, but as a painter, I love the more intricate detail of things.
Yeah, I know you do.
So at the moment I am painting the trees.
Yes, I forgot you had them. You're doing them for my D&D game, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I've also got the graveyard, and the amount of times that has been pulled out for D&D is not even funny. We need a building, we need a town, we need walls.
We need the graveyard.
Yeah.
It's one of the most useful things that you've ever bought.
Yeah, I have actually bought a second one.
I know you have, because you needed extra.
Paint it up.
Yeah.
We ran out of wall.
But this podcast is about talking about nerdy things, because we are a group of nerds, and don't expect everyone to be us going into intricate detail in 40k. We want to obviously broach into other subjects, but
Maybe we should do a Star Trek one. We've played the role play game.
you know nothing about Star Trek, so Midnight. Everything you know about Star Trek, you've picked up from Brooklyn Rage, Chief Engineer, Vulcan, Nightmare of My Life.
To be fair, the phase mirror image face was my idea.
Yeah, no, that the mirror image with the sensors and that was creative. I will give you that, and that did leave both myself and Demaster kind of like, where the fuck did you get that from? It's a good idea.
I did sort of catch some of the seasons that on the telly, you know.
Yeah.
Parts of the series, episodes,
Well-
odd bits and pieces.
Well, we're going to end it up there now for this episode. The next episode we will definitely be on next Sunday, and in that we'll be covering, well, just some video games. What we play, why we play it, who we play with, and the issues that can arise within a clan setting. And
Yeah, I think that's a good topic.
Yeah.
next one.
and how and our opinions on the best ways to deal with those issues. As for now, I have been Rise Inquisitor. This has been Midnight Wolf. This podcast has been with the Dungeon Nerds. Thank you very, very much for joining us. As always, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you have anything that you want to ask us, or any subjects that you want to be brought up in future podcasts, please feel free to put them down in the comments below. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.